Hi everyone! Today we are going to paint a watercolor iris illustration. It sounds strange, but I have never painted irises before. First, I painted these two irises, and then I saw how much you like them in my Instagram and decided to film a tutorial for you. Comparing to the pink one, the violet iris is very detailed. But if you would like to see a tutorial on how to paint a loose iris, please let me know in the comments. For this illustration, I have chosen Arches hot press paper, as I knew there will be lots of layers and Arches never fails me in painting them. It allows you to paint as many layers as needed without smudging the previous ones. I want to show you the difference between the colors of the paper. The first iris was painted on Fabriano Artistico Extra White paper, and the iris I'm painting in this tutorial is painted on Arches. I would say that Arches is more neutral white and Fabriano is super white. So if you want your painting to pop, then you should choose really white paper, like Fabriano Artistico Extra White. So first I made a pencil drawing. Then I transferred it onto my watercolor paper with the help of the tracing copyboard. I will put the link to it in the description. I use my tracing copyboard very often because I don't want to damage the gentle surface of the watercolor paper with the eraser. Regarding the colors, I have used lots of colors and I will mention all of them in the description box. I think that's all I wanted to mention in the intro section. Let's take our brushes and paint a watercolor iris. I will start my painting from creating a color palette and choosing which paints I would like to use. The first layer will be very light. The iris I am painting has very high contrast, but I would like to stay on the safe side and gradually increase the color intensity. First, I wet the paper and then add paint so that it could spread out evenly.
Don't make a sound when I shut the door. You don't have to wake up yet. We can spend all day in bed. I'll put the TV in the room. We'll have a Netflix marathon. KG saxophone.
I'm adding darker colors to the shadow sections to define them.
Favorite music on all the way baritone. Yeah. Shut the lights, go infrared. We can spend all day in bed.
It always works very well for me to look attentively to the reference image to see all the colors. I will use all of them in my painting to make it look really exciting. Also try not to forget to soften the edges of brush strokes with water to make them look smooth.
You don't have to wake up yet. We can spend all day in bed. I'll put the TV in the room. We'll have a Netflix marathon. Kenny G saxophone. We'll order in a bunch of food. I'll put your favorite music on all the way baritone. Shut the lights, go infrared. We can spend all day in bed. I'll put the TV in the room. We'll have a Netflix marathon. Kenny G saxophone. We'll order in a bunch of food. I'll put your favorite music on all the way baritone. Shut the lights, go infrared. We can spend all day in bed.
If I paint a violet, it doesn't mean I will only use violet or dark lilac colors. If I see light blue or pink areas, I will paint them as well. And that will help me to paint an illustration which looks very real.
Staring into your beautiful blue. We're growing older together now, but I still feel young when I'm with you. We were so young, maybe 20-something. We were living in a fantasy. I knew right from the start you were the other half of my heart. Wanna be someone, the other half of my heart. Wanna be someone, yeah, yeah. Wanna be someone. You make me wanna be something more.
I finished the first layer of the illustration and moved to painting the leaves and the stem.
We were so young, maybe 20-something. We were living in a fantasy. I knew right from the start you were the other half of my heart. The other half of my heart.
Again, the first layer will be light, but I will gradually add darker colors.
The other half wanna be something more. Wanna be something. The other half wanna be something. The other half of my heart. Wanna be something.
I'm also trying to use different shades of green to make it look not plain.
Wanna be something. Yeah, you make me wanna be something. Wanna be something.
Now let's return to the flower and add another layer of color. I am in no hurry and try to move slowly not to make a mistake. In my case, it could be the usage of a really dark color too early. It might ruin the illustration. I will use the darkest colors at the very end. When you paint a botanical illustration, you should study your reference image thoroughly and notice all light and dark places. It always works for me to paint not a tiny illustration, but at least A4 or A3 size to be able to paint all the details of the plant.
There's treasure in the sea. Yeah, but I'm just too dry to reach it.
I start painting the darker layer. It immediately adds volume to the flower.
'Cause I'm still waiting, yeah, for you to come around and save me. Will you stay with me? I'm lost here in America. Will you stay with me now? 'Cause I'm lost here in America. Stay with me. I'm lost here in America. Stay with me now. 'Cause I'm lost here in America. So I crawl to the underground to find it hard to breathe. 'Cause there's too much dust in the air, and we can't reverse the wheel. 'Cause I found when I've searched around lately, the world seems to be the same. There's only room for the privileged and sacred, yeah. And I want to praise them. Will you stay with me? I'm lost here in America. Will you stay with me now? 'Cause I'm lost here in America. Stay with me. I'm lost here in America. Stay with me now. Oh, yeah. Wide awake in an alien world, alien world. Wide awake, but I'm still the unheard, still the unheard of. I'm still waiting for you. Wide awake in an alien world, where I'm still waiting for you. Wide awake, but I'm still the unheard of. I'm still the unheard of. Ooh, will you stay with me? Ooh, I'm lost here in America, here in America. Will you stay with me now? 'Cause I'm lost here in America. I'm still waiting. Stay with me. I'm still waiting. I'm lost here in America. I'm still waiting for you. Stay with me now. 'Cause I'm lost here in America. So I crawl to the underground.
I wanted to say some words about the orange petals. I'm not using only Winsor orange there. I use yellow, pink, red, because I can see all those various colors in that area.
Got my head over water for the first time in years. Got my feet across the border from a land of tears. Ain't no way I'm going back under. Got my eyes in the wild blue yonder. What lies beyond the horizon? Let's go find out. Feeling free, free to live my life, free to roll the dice.
Now it's time to add contrast and to use the darkest color mixtures. It will add depth and make the flower look more real. I'm switching brushes all the time. It depends on the size and type of strokes I need to make. All the brushes will also be mentioned in the description box under the video. I rarely use white gel pen, but I can see very bright white lines on this iris, so I want to use white ink gel pen to add those. You can use white gouache or ink instead. These are the last strokes, and let's remove the masking tape. It is always such a magic to see the finished art piece with crispy, clean borders. I hope you have enjoyed this video and it has inspired you to paint your irises. Thank you for spending your time with me. I wish you an awesome day and see you in the next video. Bye bye!